So here we are. The Raptors traded for Brandon Ingram. Let's talk about it, right? It's JJ Buckets, usual drill. Like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff, but let's get into the nitty-gritty of it. It turns out the Raptors' interest in Brandon Ingram was indeed real because he's the newest member of the team. The Raptors late last night sent Bruce Brown, Kelly Olynyk, a first-round pick, and a second-round pick to acquire the New Orleans Pelicans star. This deal is kind of confusing. On one hand, that's not a particularly big price to pay for a star player like Brandon Ingram, which is nice from the Raptors' perspective. On the other hand, why make the win now trade for the crowd that wanted to see a highly touted draft prospect in Toronto this season? Their positioning might have just gotten a little worse because let's be honest, when Ingram is back healthy, which that's a bit of a question mark because he is injury prone, he's been out with an ankle injury for a while, but when he's back healthy, this starting unit and this team looks kind of decent, right? Like decent enough to actually make a push for the play-in this season. Obviously that depends a lot on the health of Brandon Ingram, but when everybody is available, this team is not that bad on paper. The other point of concern here really does come from injuries, right? Brandon Ingram has dealt with a lot of them, and he's now going to be in a position where this is one of the guys you're going to pay a potentially massive deal to because he's going to be up for a new contract in the offseason. And when he is, are you really going to make a financial commitment of like 50 million, whatever the case is, to Brandon Ingram, knowing that he has the injury history that he does? Granted, the Toronto Raptors have been in a position before where they have managed injuries well. You know, obviously you look at Kawhi Leonard and you look at the phenomenal job that they did keeping him healthy, which Los Angeles Clippers obviously have not been able to replicate, and Kawhi Leonard is probably one of the biggest challenges in the NBA in terms of, you know, getting that guy healthy and keeping that guy healthy. So maybe the Raptors front office really believes in the medical staff in terms of the fact that they can handle Brandon Ingram's injuries. You had the Dyson Daniel quote from this past season talking about the fact that, hey, you know what, the Pelicans are just a cursed organization when it comes to injuries. So maybe the Raptors ascribe to that kind of thinking that, you know, it's a New Orleans Pelicans problem. It's not as big of a Brandon Ingram problem. However, you know, it still does raise a considerable yellow flag when it comes to this upcoming offseason and the contract that Ingram will want and the history that he has with, quite frankly, sitting on the sidelines. The other thing that concerns me here, not necessarily concerns, but is more like a small gripe that I have with the situation. It's not really a terrible one by any means, but you had a pretty promising second year campaign from Grady Dick, right? Like, he looked good. I think he, you know, at the very least showcase that he's going to be a important rotational player, and trading for Ingram shifts him back to the bench, right? Like, Grady Dick is going to be the odd man out because one would expect that the starting lineup from here is going to be, when everybody's healthy, obviously, is going to be Emmanuel Quickly, it's going to be RJ Barrett, it's going to be Brandon Ingram, Scotty Barnes, and Pascal Siakam. I'm living in the past with that one. Jakob Poeltl, right? That's going to be your starting five. So Grady moves into a six-man role, which I think Grady can be good in that six-man role. It's just, to some extent, obviously, his potential development might be stunted ever so slightly from not having, you know, as a regular spot in the starting lineup, which again, I think as far as the concerns of this deal goes, that's on the smaller end of things. There's obviously bigger things to worry about, like some of the previous things I have mentioned. However, it's not completely without reason to just sit back and go, maybe not a fan of that, right? So just the couple of things here that are piling up, you know, the Grady thing, the injury history of Ingram, the odd positioning of where the Raptors are in the standings. I think that leaves a lot of question marks when it comes to, hey, what's going on? What is going on with the Raptors right now? I don't think it's a bad deal by any means. Again, strictly value-wise, what they gave up to get Brandon Ingram, it's not bad. It's not bad. And, you know, the front office clearly has an opinion that they're further along in their rebuild than I think a lot of people will give them credit for, which in all likelihood is why you make this move. But I don't know. Something about this deal, it's confusing. It is. I get why you make the deal. I really do, to a certain extent, especially like holding out on Bruce Brown and his contract value for that long and turning it into Brandon Ingram. that feels like a win. That feels like a win, but it's a win with like a lot of, maybe not quite red flags, but just a lot of yellow flags in the equation. And you know, depending on who's looking at them, you know, some of those yellow flags become red flags, or at least like dark orange flags. But hey, you tell me, right? Like, the comment section is right there. Tell me what you feel about this trade. What is your immediate reaction to it? Because again, most people would have expected the Raptors to be sellers, I think, and to an extent, you know, they did sell, but they sold to a selling team. So like, it's, you know what I mean? They ended up being buyers in this one 100%. And there could still be a Chris Boucher trade out later today. So I think that's worth paying attention to. But yeah, a lot of interesting developments here. Let me know all your thoughts in the comment section below. Other than that, folks, usual drill at the end of these videos. If you're new here, thanks for showing up. Hit that subscribe button. Hit like as well if you're still watching at this point of the video. And thank you if you're still watching at this point in the video. Other than that, folks, it's been JJ Buckets. It's been a pleasure. And I will see everybody next time.